best cavalry pairs using epic with legendary commanders, so you can get the most out of cavalry in your KVK 1, 2 and 3 in Rise of Kingdoms. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. My name is Legend Ronnie and today I'm gonna talk about pairing epics with legendary cavalry version, because in KVK 1, 2 and 3, and in my situation was KVK 4 as well, I've done a lot of epic with legendary pairings. I didn't had so many legendary, I didn't have the luxury of field fighting with so many legendary. So I used a lot of epics. That's how I started the idea of being a cav player. I was doing 4 marches of cavalry in KVK 1 and 2 on the field, and in KVK 3, and if I'm right, in KVK 4 as well, I've done 5 marches of cavalry. There's plenty of videos out there. You can also search if you want my 5 cavalry marches or my 5 marches last KVK and so on. There is plenty on my channel. And you can see the commanders and the pairings that I was doing in the early KVKs. Nowadays, I have a lot of legendaries and obviously I have plenty of commanders to pick from, and I don't do any epics pairing with legendaries. But I know a lot of players are starting, or a lot of players are going back and doing KVK 1, KVK 2, KVK 3. Well, you cannot migrate to a KVK 1, but players start over or do jump projects. And I want to give you some pairings because doing a lot of skill damage on the field battle has its perks. Because if you want to get a lot of kills, this is exactly how you can get a lot of kills, is by doing a lot of skill damage. But many players care a lot about trades. They care about the trades, they care about the resources, they care about the amount of speed ups they spend, and that's where infantry comes in play, right? Because infantry is very defensive, infantry does a lot of counterattack, and you have plenty of options to go with in KVK 1, 2 and 3, which I've done a video about. I'm gonna post a card on the top. If you want more information, you can go ahead and check that video out. But this video is about cavalry. And before I'm gonna go further, I'm gonna have to mention a couple of things. If you wanna play cavalry or a lot of cavalry marches, there is a couple of rules. Or maybe you just wanna pick a march because you already have 2-3 infantry marches and you're thinking to do 1-2 marches of cavalry on the field as well, then probably this video will be for you. But if you want to field a lot of cavalry marches like I used to do in my KVK 1, in my KVK 2, my KVK 3, then there is a couple of rules. And the number one rule is using 50% army expansion. You need to win by strength in numbers. This applies for infantry as well. It definitely helps if you have the numbers. But for cavalry, it definitely makes a difference if you have the number. So for example, if I click on my Pelagius, you're noticing 18.5 million kills. That's how many kills my Pelagius has. Then if I go on my Babers, because he was a primary as well, Pelagius was a primary, Babers was a primary for me for a very long time, 16 million kills. So these are commanders that help me acquire a lot of kills in Rise of Kingdoms. And then if I go on Sansu, which also was one of those commanders, very universal, 21 million kills. Another important thing about cavalry, you need to pay attention on your health bar on the right side. Why am I talking about the right side when I'm saying that? You see the marches where you have their health bar, and when they get damage, they start having a white health bar. This is very important. If you play cavalry, you need to pay attention to that. The moment you see the health bar going drastically low and it's on yellow, with cavalry you need to retreat while you're yellow. So you want to make sure that when you're at least 50%, you're already retreating and refreshing. So this is a one deal with cavalry. This is very important. You need to keep refreshing the marches. You cannot just stay on the field with weak marches because you don't have the power anymore. So you need to have the power of the skills, and that requires a lot of troops. And the only way you can have a lot of troops is by making sure that you keep refreshing your marches. I would recommend using epics in KVK 1, 2 and 3, or at least until Season of Conquest commanders are being unlocked. Because I've done a video and apparently in some Light vs Darkness you might still be able to use some of the Season of Conquest commanders. But once all that is over, in KvK 3 you'll be able to use just the regular commanders that you used in KvK 2. So I'm pretty sure that many of the kingdoms that are coming or finishing KvK 2, once they start their Light vs Darkness, they won't be able to use Season of Conquest. Or when you reach the Season of Conquest, which is your KvK 4, you need to stop using epics. It's not working anymore to use epics on the field. But KvK 1, 2 and 3, epics play a very important role, and I still don't know why a lot of people don't use them. But I mentioned the rules earlier into the video. 50% army expansion is highly needed, especially if you want to play with a lot of skill damage or calves, a lot of calf marches. Pelagius and Double C. It was an exceptional pair, and my Double C wasn't max. So when I started using Pelagius and Double C as a pair, my Double C was a 5-1-1-1, and this is the commander that I'm talking about as Double C 5-1-1-1. That's exactly how I started using him. And the civilization that I was for KvK 1, I was with Spain because I needed experience. My commanders needed to level up. My commanders needed to be level 60, and I was leveling up my commanders so fast that I didn't have purple stars. I didn't have purple stars to 6-star epic commanders because I was gaining so much experience. The reason I like this pair so much regarding Pelagius and Double C is because they have a lot of sustainability. They can sustain for a longer time on the field. You have a little bit of healing from Pelagius, and then you have healing from Double C, and that helps them bring back a lot of troops, so they will be able to stand on the field for a very long time. And if Double C is not max, that's perfectly fine. You still get a lot of attack from his third skill, and you get march speed. And with Pelagius being primary, you also benefit from the skill talent tree, because that's exactly what you need. If you're doing a lot of marches that do a lot of skill damage, you need skill talent tree being primary. With Pelagius, you also deal a lot of damage. You have Rage Restoration. You get Rage Restoration from Pelagius, you get Rage Restoration from Double C from his 4th skill, attack and defense to your calves, and a lot of healing. So Pelagius and Double C was a very exceptional pair in KvK 1, 2 and 3, but not in the Season of Conquest. Once you reach Season of Conquest, you need to bring only legendaries, and that's exactly what I'm doing. The second pair that I was using quite a lot was Babers. Babers was a primary commander for me. Now, a second in command to Babers, I was using a plethora of commanders. And what does a plethora means? I even done Babers and Sansu for a very long time, because Babers hits 5 targets, Sansu hits 5 targets. Sansu regenerates a lot of rage, then Babers goes again, then Sansu again. They were just a machine of skills, and I really enjoyed this march a lot. But Babers was always a target because he never had any kind of defense. All he does is just brings attack on the table. Another pairings that I was doing with Babers being primary, Babers slow with his primary skill, and when you slow a target, you deal 20% increased damage to enemy troops when they are affected by slowdown. So you're proccing Aetherflade's expertise with the primary skill from Babers, and also slowing the target helps you, because that's what calves do. Calves have mobility, and you're just swarming down targets, and whenever they run away, you just keep slowing them and slowing them, and they just don't get away. So Babers and Aetherflade was also another pair that I was using just to bring her debuff, just to bring more AoE on the table. Another interesting pair that I have done with Babers, since I'm referring to a lot of AoE, was Babers primary with Mehmet as a second in command, because they both hit again 5 targets, and there is attack and skill damage. There's nothing wrong with that pair as well, but again, no defense. So obviously, always a targeted march, which means that you always need to take extra care if you ever use Babers on the field. You cannot allow Babers to just charge in and then just look at the numbers. You always need to fight somewhere on the sides. You need to make sure that your marches are somewhere on the side, because calves in the early games, KvK 1, 2 and 3, are very fragile. So you need to pay extra attention to those marches. What I have used when I want to hide Babers, I've also done Minamoto with Babers, Minamoto being primary. And I've also done Genghis with Babers. I've also done Saladin with Babers. So a lot of combinations that I have done with Babers, because you need as much AoE as possible in the murder ball, which obviously brings you value when you're doing a lot of damage. Babers, very universal commander. Even Pelagius with Minamoto I've done even Pelagius with Genghis Khan when my Genghis Khan was not 60, and various other pairs. As long as you put a skill talent tree primary for your cabs, then you're on the driver's seat with cabs in the KVK 1, 2, and 3. Another very common pair that I was using when I was pairing Epic with Legendary was with Belisarius. And I can 100% guarantee you that my Belisarius didn't kill farms. I was never into that, into farm killing and stuff like that. And if you care about the talent or you want to know the talent trees, you make sure to check my Discord. You'll find the link in the description of this video. Belisarius primary, and it might surprise you who I put as a second. The second in command for Belisarius was Barca. And as you look at the kills, 9 million kills, Barca. There you have it. Now, why would be the reason behind it? Why would I do Belisarius with Barca? And I even done Belisarius with Aethelflaed. Was the second march that was most of the time targeted. So another march that needs to take extra and super mega extra care. Because with all the defense that he brings on the table, he is still a target on the field. Belisarius with his primary skill reduces the defense on the target and the attack by 30%. For 2 seconds, and the time between primary skill and secondary skill is 2 seconds. So the next commander that was debuffing the target was Barca or Aethelflaed, because I've tried both of them. But with Barca you get a 5 seconds debuff, and then you get Belisarius going in again, and then Barca. So you're debuffing a target with defense and damage reduction. Not to mention that Barca also does a small AoE, hits up to 3 targets, so even debuffs more targets, which means that your AoE marches will do more damage. And I wasn't doing mix, I was doing only cavalry because all I cared about is the debuffs. I didn't care to benefit from the mix of troops skill. But like I was mentioning, extra and mega extra care, because my Belisarius was constantly a target. Now if I would have to replace Barca with someone better, it would probably be Lubu. And at that point, I would probably put Lubu second to someone else and not Belisarius. But if I would have a max Lubu, I would definitely use him on the field. Once you obtain his expertise, 50% defense reduction for 3 seconds, that's pretty big. KVK 1, 2, and 3, I would definitely have Lubu. If I know that I would keep jumping and keep doing KVK 1, 2, and 3 and do a lot of skill damaging marches, Lubu would be on my list, on my maxing list for that matter. I only used the Belisarius in KVK 1 and 2. I haven't used him after that because I've noticed that he's constantly a target. And sometimes you lag and you just cannot control your marches and they just die. But it was working. When he was not lagging, Belisarius was a key commander for me because of his debuff and bringing Barca as well on the table. Because that's how you can do a lot of skill damage to the marches, and that's how you can take down the marches, by making sure that you're also debuffing them. Richard, Charles Martel, and Constantine, all these strong marches, they are strong because they have a lot of defensive options. So in order to do damage with cabs to infantry, you need to make sure that you take those defensive options from them by using skills that reduces their attack, defense, and health, so you can hit them even harder. Obviously, in the mix, I was always using Saladin and Genghis as well, and I was also using Minamoto, and that's exactly how I was doing my pairs. Saladin and YSG, I was also doing for a very long time. That's why it's a very well-known pair, Saladin and YSG. I was using it with my Cav marches for a very long time. And then you have Minamoto. And I've also done Genghis and Mehmed as well. But Genghis is always a target, and Genghis is not a commander I recommend to invest in, considering the way KVK is right now. Because you have KVK 1, 2, and 3, and you don't have time to max a lot of legendaries, and you jump into the Season of Conquest. The moment you jump into the Season of Conquest, Genghis Khan is becoming a little bit useless. The only way I can use Genghis Khan right now is with a max skill Takeda. But now that they introduced this wonderful and beautiful cavalry commander, Xiangyu and Takeda would be a much better choice because you get the same damage and on top of that you get defense reduction. Obviously, when you have too many primary skills that does defense reduction, they just don't stack. So for example, if you have Ramses, you have Aethelflaed, you have Xiangyu, only one of them will work. So that's a little bit of a bummer as well. So you need to make sure how you make your commanders, or hopefully Xiangyu goes first and then the others go first. So you might have an advantage there when you reduce the target, and you might continuously keep reducing the defense of a target. But hey, we're talking about Season of Conquest, so that's other things. Genghis Khan is dropping in utilities drastically now because Xiangyu is out. And by the time you can work on your Genghis properly, you will be in a Season of Conquest, and you're better off working on a Xiangyu than a Genghis. But if you have a Genghis Khan and you want to do KVK 1, 2, and 3, he's definitely a key commander for doing a lot of cavalry marches. Because I have a lot of legendaries. If I would have to go back and do KVK 2 and 3, I would definitely not use epics. So I have to put that out there as well, because I have Edward, I have Tomiris, I have Max Elcid, I have Max YSG, I have Max Alexander, and then you have Minamoto Double C, and you have Sardin and Genghis, which obviously you can make some pairs with them, some very nice pairs. At that point, you're only bringing a lot of legendaries on the field. But I'm talking about players that just don't have this many legendaries. So with all the pairs and all the commanders that I have mentioned in this video, you can do even 5 pairs of cavalry if you want in your KVK2 and KVK3. Because like I was mentioning, you have Minamoto free, you have Sardin free. I've done Sardin and Sanzu, I've done Minamoto and Sanzu, I've done Minamoto and Aethelflaed. If I go on my Minamoto and I check his kills, look at that, 27.5 million. So that's a lot of kills. If I go and check on my Double C, how much does he has? 24.6 million. So a lot of kills for Double C as well. Then obviously Saladin, I'm using him even today after what, 2.5 years or more. Obviously he has a lot of kills. And then if I go on my Genghis, 50 million kills. Obviously Genghis, very useful. And I'm telling you, until Xiangyu came out, I would have not replaced my Genghis. But Xiangyu is just better. Xiangyu with Takeda is probably going to be one of my cav marches in the next Season of Conquest. Going into my YSG, 64.6. So you imagine how much I used YSG on field fighting. Yes, he's the #1 boss when it comes to field fighting. And even Frederick, I had him maxed in my KVK1 for rallying purposes. 16 million, that's still something. For a time, I even used Genghis and Aethelflaed, because Genghis popping skills very fast, it helps Aethelflaed debuff to stay longer on the field, because if Genghis does skill faster, then you have Aethelflaed popping in, and you don't just get only the AoE, but you get the debuffs as well. There was a lot of synergy between Genghis and Aethelflaed. Saladin and Aethelflaed also works very well. I even used Alex and Aethelflaed for a while. In my KVK4, I noticed that 5 Kev marches is not working so well, so I had to use an infantry march. I had to drop Babers at that point because he was constantly a target. So I said, hey, it's time to change Babers. Can't just fill hospital and pay hospital bills and always pay attention to it. It was very laggy in Kingsland. So I was using Alex and Aethelflaed because I needed her debuff on the field. Infantry is very strong, like I was mentioning. You need to reduce their defensive capabilities so you can take them down. A lot of players are not in favor of epics because they always say that they are being swarmed down. They always say that, hey, epics just fill up your hospital. It all depends how you use your epics. I've used them, so I experienced them. And I can tell you that epics do have a value in KVK 1, 2, and 3, or unless the Season of Conquest commanders are being unlocked. But once Season of Conquest commanders are being unlocked, then drop all the epics. Drop the idea of epics. The only ones that might still have a utility once you reach Season of Conquest is obviously Joan of Arc. She's very universal with her primary skill buffing. Highly recommend her. Maybe Sansu, second in command to some of the marchers, might have some utilities here and there. And then it's probably gonna be Bjorn, because infantry in general is very strong. So if you really want to hide Bjorn as a second in command so you can still get his nice debuff, then you can do that. But that's pretty much about it. And when it comes to the archers, to use epic archers in KVK 1, 2, and 3, just don't. Honestly, just don't. So I can show you my Herman, because obviously I've tried them. Look at that, 500,000 kills. That's how long I used him, just for a short time. And then if I go on my Kusunoki, 1 million kills. A lot of people might have said, but hey, I'm using Kusunoki, why is Jin is doing great? Well, you're probably lucky. That's you. I've tried them and they just don't work so great for me. I preferred to go with Cavs because Cavs have mobility and I was able to play around. Keira, well, she's kinda new, so obviously I didn't manage to use her, but I used her a lot on my alt account. So let me know in the comment section below, what do you think? Should you still use epics in KVK 1, 2, and 3, or you shouldn't? I'm looking forward to hear your comments and maybe I can help you with some answers. Until next time, this is your boy Geroni signing off. Peace out, yo, and take care. See you on the next one, and stay safe out there, my friends.